not feeling too well today. So if I act like I'm on crack, I am. No, I'm just kidding, I'm not. But I did warn you. I came prepared. It's very soft. Hello, my mushrooms! Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome to my cozy corner of the internet where I aim to spread autism awareness and hope through my story. Today, we're continuing to explore common autistic traits in women. In this second video of a 4-part series, I will delve into my personal traits and experiences revolving around Rudy Simone's list of common autistic traits in women. There are 4 columns in her chart, and we'll be discussing the second column today: Intellect, Education, and Vocation. If you would like to watch the first video of this series, here's the link. It talks about appearance and personal habits. But before we dive in, I need to make a few disclaimers. If you've seen my previous video of the series, you can go ahead and skip this part. A disclaimer number 1. These traits are not only found in women. While they are most commonly found in autistic women, they can also be found in autistic men. Because if you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person. A disclaimer number 2. These are not official autistic traits. In Rudy Simone's book, Aspergirls, Empowering Females with Asperger Syndrome, she illustrates common traits/tendencies found in autistic women. If you relate to these traits, that doesn't necessarily mean you're autistic. At the same time, if you don't relate to these traits, that doesn't mean you aren't autistic. Autism is a spectrum. These traits are intended to give you a better idea whether or not you might be autistic, but they cannot be used to diagnose you with autism. However, if you're interested in hearing about the official diagnostic criteria for ASD, please check out my video where I decode the DSM-5 criteria for autism. I'll link it above right here. Or right there. Or right there. Right there. Right there. Right there. Where is it? There it is. Hey! Trait number 1. Considered gifted, shy, or sensitive when young. Is all of the above an option? I have lived my whole life under the shy and sensitive labels. Which is pretty valid. I saved all my crazy for my family. And I've always been incredibly sensitive. I'm still rather shy outside the house, and I'm debatably more sensitive now than I was when I was young. Let me explain what this looks like in my life. My shyness outside the house stems from 2 main things. Number 1, under a category of number 1, because we are still on number 1. Alright, I get it, there's a lot of numbers to keep track of. When I'm outside of my safe space and comfort zone, I am prone to physical and emotional overwhelm. Growing up, my family's household was very peaceful. My family are introverts who would prefer to keep to themselves, so the house was usually very quiet, with me being the loudest thing within the 4 walls. Compared to this peaceful, calm environment, the world was loud, bright, and chaotic. For an autistic person who takes longer to process sensory stimuli, I internalized any overwhelm I felt and remained quiet. Number 2. People are sporadic and hard to read. Staying quiet became a coping mechanism to not appear like I didn't know what was going on. I usually have thoughts to contribute to a conversation, but it takes my brain a little while to figure out what to say and how to say it. By the time I'm looking for the space to interject, the conversation is usually already moved on, or I couldn't find an appropriate time to say something without appearing rude. When in doubt, I stay quiet, because if I say nothing, I can't mess up an interaction with someone. Moving on to sensitive. There are many different types of sensitivities. Here are the ways I am sensitive. Number 1. I do love my numbers. That's not number 1. Number 1. I have sensory sensitivities. Of course, but I'll get into that in another video. Number 2. Dude, movies are a trip. I am extremely sensitive to visual and auditorial intensity. So I steer clear of most violence and anything graphic. I have always been traumatized by torture in particular, to the point where it will keep me up at night if I read about some new way someone's thought of to hurt another person. It's disgusting that people could even think of hurting another human being or creature like that.
And that's supposed to be funny because that's so disgusting, honestly. Oh, I'm disgusted! Ugh.
This has caused a disconnect between my peers and I because I can't tolerate a lot of the films that most other people can. And I got made fun of a lot for being sensitive or innocent by most of my peers at some point. In fact, I can count the number of people on one hand who have not made fun of me for being so sensitive. And that's kind of sad. But damn, that tea is good. Y'all should try this tea. It's blueberry lavender, by the way. I don't know if you guys are any tea drinkers out there, but that is good. Number 3. I am sensitive to word usage because I'm a literal thinker. I think a lot of people misunderstand what being a literal thinker actually means. It's much more subtle than believing cats and dogs are actually falling out of the sky. Autistic people are not stupid. Hi, I'm a person. I'm not an idiot. We can pick up on metaphors, it's just not often our strong suit. For me personally, literal thinking comes more into play with the fact that I take words at their exact definition, as I know it. So if I'm having a conversation with someone and they say, "Today was horrible," I'm gonna immediately be really concerned and ask what happened, if they're okay, and if they need anything. Because to me, horrible means causing or likely to cause horror, shocking. And this is usually the point where people will get annoyed by my intensity, because they didn't actually mean their day was horrible. They just meant that they had a bad day, and they're irritated that I didn't pick up on what they actually meant. But to me, I wonder why they didn't just say they had a bad day for this, and this reason. This disconnect pretty much happens to me every day. The English language is massive, so why don't people use the proper words to fit into the context of the conversation? I cannot be the only autistic person who really wishes that was a thing. I mean, seriously. There's a lot of words out there, guys. A lot. Seriously, this tea is really good. Number 4. I am sensitive to dark concepts in general. Growing up, I feel like I was constantly processing some new dark part of the world, and it took me longer than the average person to be able to mentally digest these dark and painful concepts. An example of this is when I learned of the Holocaust in middle school.
It's the Holocaust.
The Holocaust?
It's the Holocaust.
What are you, Southern? Holocaust?
You're
No,
Southern.
that's not how that works. I'm gonna look this up.
Holocaust. Holocaust.
Sometimes this makes me feel really weak, but my sensitivities remind me that I'm not designed for this fallen world. I was made for something more. And with that, we're going to the second official trait. Sorry for getting confused by these numbers, because that's a lot of numbers. If you couldn't tell, I really like my lists. Number 2, overt or covert learning deficits. I was skilled in certain areas of school. English was my strong suit. I wouldn't call myself gifted. I would just say I was trained at a young age on how to write good papers. To this day, writing is still a big part of my life, whether I'm journaling, blogging, or creative writing. Ironically, my covert learning deficit was reading comprehension. You can ask my mom. I really struggled to comprehend my textbooks in school. She would often help me when I was younger by reading them with me and essentially translating them for me. I struggled with them so much that I often didn't even read them if I could get by without it. And the only reason I got away with this is because the internet exists. I was able to watch videos or read summaries online to help me understand topics rather than reading 40 pages a day of the most boring textbook on the planet. This is just me getting loopy, y'all. One of the reasons reading comprehension was so difficult for me is because I wasn't interested in the topic or the language used in the textbook was unnecessarily complicated. Or both.
Both is good.
I was all over books that I was interested in, but as soon as they became boring, there was literally no way for the information to stick in my brain. And it's not for lack of trying. I remember times I'd reread pages over and over, trying to remember or understand what I just read. While this may be commonplace, I think it was definitely heightened in me because of the way my brain is geared to intensely fixate on things of interest. Number 3, often musical and or artistic. Yes, and yes. I love music. When I was younger, I took piano lessons because I loved the way it sounded. In 9th grade, I built a huge playlist of my favorite pieces. I later learned to appreciate a lot of other musical instruments, like guitar, the violin, bass, and flute. I also love to sing, and I'm constantly humming something. I am also very creative, and I've delved into various art forms all throughout my life. As previously mentioned, I love writing creatively and journaling. I also have been into macrame and making lovely bouquets and wall decorations with dried flowers. Additionally, I have a couple of sketchbooks and a watercolor notebook. One of the interesting things I'd like to note about drawing in particular is that I cannot draw from my imagination, but I'm really good at recreating a drawing that already exists. Does anyone else relate with this? Or is it just me? It might just be me. Number 4. May have a savant skill or strong talent. No, I don't know why I said it like that. I just think savant is a really cool word, and I don't hear it very often. Okay. This may be the only trait I don't really relate with. I wouldn't say I have a strong talent in the traditional sense. I have been told I have an amazing voice, but I think that compliment came from the shock of seeing this shy girl get up on stage and belt. I'm not saying I have a bad singing voice, but I don't think it's necessarily a strong talent. A lot of people can sing well. My talent, so to speak, is my inhuman willpower and self-control. I have a will of steel. If I set my mind to something, there is literally nothing that could deter me. For example, someone could put the most delicious, decadent pastry in front of me, full of sugar, that makes my mouth water and my brain scream at me to eat it. And I won't, because it has toxic red 40 in it. Simple as that. Number 5. May gravitate towards computers and technology, or writing, languages, and psychology. I have already discussed my love of writing, but I also love psychology. It's actually what I got a bachelor's degree in. Personality is really where my interest lies, and this is very common among autistic women. We are often drawn to psychology because we don't understand people, but due to a desire to fit in, we want to understand. Growing up, I didn't realize this is where my interest in psychology stemmed from, but now it makes total sense to me. I even loved studying nonverbal communication in particular so I could learn to read people better, which is a great segue into the next trait. Number 6. Or 6. Many self-taught skills. This is mostly talking about masking, at least for me. Social cues and nuances that neurotypicals easily pick up on don't come as easily to autistic people. And autistic women, in particular, are usually better at masking than autistic men. And that's not necessarily a good thing. I've taught myself how to smile correctly, sort of, make the right amount of eye contact, make small talk, and read people's body language. Also, I don't stick out like a sore thumb. And you might think everyone has to teach themselves those things. Perhaps initially. But for neurotypicals, these things quickly become subconscious, unlike the autistic person who has to retread that information mentally before socializing. Number 7. May be highly educated but struggle with social aspects. I was a straight-A student with few to no friends. And no, I wasn't that stereotypical nerdy girl who has glasses and her nose stuck in a textbook and had all the answers. I was the nerdy girl who had her nose stuck in a fiction book and could talk your ear off about all the characters in it. I always carried a book in my backpack because I needed something to do when I felt awkward, but didn't want to melt my brain scrolling social media. I hate phones. In elementary and middle school, I had 3 friends. In late middle school to early high school, I had 2 friends. Then, in late high school and college, I had no one I considered a true friend. Personally, I think that word is thrown around too casually. To me, a friend is actually someone you purpose to and enjoy hanging out with. Someone who knows and accepts you as you are. Everyone else is either an acquaintance or a stranger. There's my literal brain being literal again. I once had a decent handful of people I enjoyed hanging out with. Some even became best friends. Over time, though, that group slowly dwindled down to 0. Realizing people were two-faced and only pretending to like me, to both of the people I considered best friends abandoning me, I stopped doing the whole friend thing. Oh, for the love of my living Lord, what is the light doing? You guys are just gonna have to deal with it. I don't care today, alright? For several years afterwards, I only hung out with my sisters, who are awesome, until my husband came along and reminded me that there are still good, kind people outside my family who will love and accept me as I am. Number 8. May have partial degrees. I almost didn't finish my bachelor's in psychology, partially because I had to be pulled out of college due to autistic burnout and debilitating anxiety. And partially because I didn't want to, which is, once again, a great transition to the next trait. Number 9. May be passionate about one course of study, then change course quickly. As my college classes got more intricate in the areas of psychology that I wasn't interested in, I lost my fire for it. Autistic people's special interests are known to burn quite intensely for a long period of time, but they can also burn out very quickly. This definitely happened to me when I was forced to focus on psychology for 4 years. I did finish my degree though, with a strong nudge from my parents. The sheer intensity to which autistic people focus on their special interests can cause fatigue and burnout on that topic. However, it's also common for an autistic person to pick back up an old special interest and get right back into it. Number 10. May have trouble staying employed or finding work. Now I feel personally attacked. Despite the fact that I graduated with a bachelor's degree in psychology, it took me 6 months. Yeah, 6 months to land a decent job worth my degree. I learned the hard way that bachelor's degrees don't hold as much weight as they used to. I applied to well over 20 jobs and was interviewed multiple times. After one interview, I was even given a tour of where I would be working. Nothing came out of it. At the time, I was preparing to get married and moving into an apartment with my husband, so I needed to make a certain amount of money to afford living on our own. But no matter how many applications I filled out or interviews I completed, no one was interested in hiring me. Now, in the current job market of the US, this is not actually an unusual story. It's really hard for everyone to find a decent job these days. The reason I think it's hard for autistic people in particular to get hired and stay employed is due to the following. And guys, I'm tired, so I'm just gonna read these off my phone. Damn phone. Where the hell is this thing? The interview is often the most difficult part of the job search, requiring social skills and impression management that can be challenging for autistic individuals. Standard application questions may be misunderstood, leading to potential applicants being screened out before they have the chance to demonstrate their skills. Difficulties with social cues, nonverbal communication, and navigating the social dynamics of the workplace can lead to misunderstandings with colleagues and supervisors. Many autistic individuals are hypersensitive to sensory input, making many different office environments uncomfortable, distracting, or even overwhelming. A desire for a consistent schedule and predictable routine can be difficult to find in many jobs, and unexpected changes in tasks or processes can be particularly challenging. Challenges with task planning, working memory, and executive functioning can make it harder to manage responsibilities and maintain focus in a work setting. Connections are everything when getting hired for a good job, something autistic people have trouble forming and maintaining, which can leave them floundering for references. The combination of these challenges can lead to autistic burnout, making it difficult to maintain employment long-term. Isn't that just dandy? I experienced similar challenges while working part-time at a bakery chain while finishing my degree and job hunting. It was a chaotic environment where I was always tired from coming in at 6 a.m. and my manager was always pushing me to go faster and faster. The faster I went, the more I messed up, and she wasn't happy with that either. Near the end of my time there, I worked at the front, decorating cookies before boxing them up for customers. I liked that position at first, but as the lines got longer and the customers started giving me trouble for following the rules, because they're the exception, I guess, the job became incredibly stressful. That, combined with the exhaustion of keeping my mask on as socializing with coworkers and customers, I wanted to leave within a few months. And that's not even talking about the sensory sensitivities. Eventually, I got hired by the same company that my dad works for, and I'm really grateful for his good word. I am now an executive assistant for a digital marketing company. I work from home, and I didn't realize just how much of a blessing that was when I was hired. I can work from the comfort of my own home, which keeps me from being socially overwhelmed. It's also been an incredible blessing because it allowed me to work while dealing with a chronic health issue. More about that in my blog. Because of these benefits, my job is not likely to burn me out. Number 11. Slow to comprehend some things due to sensory and cognitive issues. Both of these things absolutely affect how quickly an autistic person processes something. So let's break them down. How sensory issues impact comprehension. For me, sensory overwhelm doesn't cause meltdowns in the traditional sense. A mild amount of overwhelm often causes brain fog, which causes me to be slower to respond to other people and not be able to focus really well on anything. A buildup of sensory overwhelm contributes to autistic rage, which is the intense emotional outburst an autistic person experiences when they're overwhelmed or triggered. How cognitive issues impact comprehension. As an autistic woman, I struggled to decipher nonverbal communication, specifically tone of voice. This difficulty understanding and being understood by others can cause me to be a little slow on the uptake. A lot of the time, I need things re-explained to me, which is a great segue, again, into the next trait. Prefers written rather than verbal instructions. I don't know if other autistic people relate to this, but I have the worst memory when it comes to words. I tend to remember things by how they made me feel. Written instructions are always better than verbal because I can reread them and make sure I didn't misunderstand or miss any details. Verbal instructions tend to go right over my head, the more complicated they are, because I need time to process what it is I actually need to do. I ask a lot of questions to make sure I do something correctly, and I need time to process those instructions and formulate my questions to get the exact picture of what the person is looking for. And light changes so often in this video, I apologize. It's going from like light to dark to light to dark, and I'm like... Number 13. May have obsessions that are less obvious than ASD males. Did someone say obsessions? Yep, that's me at a constant. I am always obsessed with something, usually multiple things, though I prefer the word passionate or even hyperfixated. I find them less offensive. Autistic women often have more covert special interests than autistic men, because we are generally better at masking or hiding them. My passions take up a lot of space in my brain, but they're not always that obvious to others because I've learned that most people do not accept my intensity. Since I never learned just how much intensity to show when I'm talking about my passions, I just started staying quiet about them. To this day, I really struggle to share my interests in a group setting among peers because I feel mute, unable to discuss anything I'm interested in for fear of being seen as weird or immature. Is this relatable to anyone else? And that wraps up the second column of common autistic traits in women: intellect, education, and vocation. How many of the traits did you relate with? I want to reiterate again that these are not official autistic traits, but rather common tendencies or preferences found in autistic women. This does not mean that every autistic woman will relate with them. And of course, autistic men and neurotypicals alike can relate with them too. If you enjoyed this video and you want to become a mushroom among wildflowers, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel or my blog. And I'll see you in the next one.